Sheriff Julian, how are you this morning?
Great. Good morning.
Thanks for coming in the middle of what is otherwise a nearly perfect show.
Yeah.
Not. Bossier Parish Sheriff Julian Whittington is here. We've got lots to talk about.
More teenagers picked up at the Boardwalk, and I know that's troubling for you, and most troubling is that kids that don't listen to authority. How do you deal with that? What do you want to tell folks today?
Well, we've tried to hopefully educate the parents before. Let me back up a little bit. Mayor Walker and Chief McWilliams and the Boardwalk management and I met and just decided, we were just going to go with a zero tolerance down there on violations. And so we did about a week of a PR blitz, hopefully getting the word to parents that if your child's 16 or under and they're down there after 8 o'clock, they're in violation of the curfew. And so, we want the parents to be aware. We don't get a kick or enjoy arresting people, but in fact, the ones that were arrested were first warned and then did not leave and had another encounter with law enforcement and commenced to cuss the officer out and really disturb the peace and act a fool. So we hooked them up, gave them a free ride to detention. But that's not our mission, is to arrest young people, is to get the word out. Don't be there after 8 o'clock.
Young people as young as 14 are cursing an officer out?
That's exactly right. Unacceptable.
How do we solve this? This is just out of hand, Sheriff.
This show's not long enough to solve that problem. but it's just a lack of respect for themselves first, but certainly for anyone else.
Mr. Julian, if they had not responded, I assume that first warning is standard operating procedure that, like, hey, kids, it's after, you got to go. If they had been on second warning, not so rude and resistant, would they have been arrested, or would the officer probably have said, come on, kids, let's go, and they go, oh, sorry, we're leaving now? Well,
the second encounter was a second warning, which it was not required, but like I said, no one wants to arrest kids, but after the second warning, and basically they, said, we're not leaving, and caused a scene and began to curse the officer, and that was a bad decision.
So what happens in a normal situation if a youngster is taken into custody? Is this the kind of arrest that involves the paddy wagon and involves jail and a court appearance and fines?
Well,
what exactly?
That's a good question. And it can be handled different ways, but we decided after the problems that began to surface down there with some of the crowds gathering that just calling mama to come get them really wasn't getting the job done. And so, like I said, we're giving them a free ride to detention, and hopefully they'll get our point across that we're not kidding, we're not playing, we're going to have zero tolerance.
So will this involve a court appearance, a criminal record, a fine, etc.?
They'll have a court appearance, but with juveniles, normally on first offense, minor violations, things can be worked out where it's not on their record permit. Now,
you said something to me that's very interesting. You said calling the parents just wasn't getting the job done. Were you meeting? I've got a friend of mine, and he's been teaching school for about 35, 40 years. And he says the biggest difference between teaching school in 1975 or 80 and now is, he said, 30 years ago, a kid gets in trouble, the parents are on your side. He said, now a kid gets in trouble, they side with the kids.
Yeah.
Are you meeting resistance from the parents also?
Well, of course, sometimes, you can't get in touch with them, number one. But parents just need to be aware of what the rules are, and if they don't follow through, then, they themselves and the kids are going to suffer the consequences of violating the law.
Sheriff Julian Whittington, Bossier Parish. Let me ask you this about these young girls that were arrested. Were these girls essentially saying they didn't agree with the policy and that's why they got crazy, or did they just get belligerent because that's how they know to respond?
It just seems that that's just the attitude that, no one's going to tell us what we're going to do. And, obviously, clearly the law, and on the second warning, like I said, we're not going to just continue to call mama. We're going to hook them up and give them a free ride to detention.
And I know you want to get a message to parents today about their teenagers and what their job is as a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. The Boardwalk's a real jewel to us over here in Bossier, but it's not a babysitting service. And, children, kids that age should not be down there late at night, without a parent, plain and simple.
What kind of numbers have there been as far as these arrests, detentions? does the new policy seem to be working?
So far, I think it's 4 that have been arrested, and like I said, certainly arresting people is not our goal. But sometimes you have to enforce the law and show them that.
And I would assume that the reinstitution or the decision to be a little more strict in adhering to the policy was made because there were a lot of problems or an increasing number of.
That's true. Yes, we began to see larger crowds and more violations of the curfew, and of course the businesses down there they want people down there.